Hi there. Thank you for tuning in to Grow Your Gifts. Today, think I'm just going to talk and see where that goes. I do have a few points written down, but mostly my plan is to just go and do my best to go into the flow state, which is easier said than done on camera. So, let's jump right in. Yeah, the first thing I've written down, let's just go with that, easier to start with, is chaos. Going to extreme in one direction or another. Yep, that's sometimes how we find our balance, though. Um, like learning sun salutation and balancing on one foot, I was shaking a lot, and the various teachers that had the opportunity to experience with sun salutation, especially over and over, which was like, wow, this must be for a reason. They all told me the same thing generally, that the shakiness is good, that's my body try to find balance. So there's a rhyme and a reason to all of that, you know, chaos. And it's all part of the journey. But yeah, going too extreme in one direction or another, I'm sure you've experienced it. It can be exhausting, it can be depleting, it can be frustrating, all those different things. And ain't nobody got time for that or energy for that these days. There's a lot going on. And if you can simplify it and kind of get laser focused about your mission, about what you came here to do, about what your gifts are, what are your passions, what brings you joy. Follow your joy, follow your bliss, make a list. There's always going to be chaos here and there, but the more you keep, just same way you would gently and from a neutral space, keep bringing that child back to their bed so they know it's bedtime. You don't say anything, you don't give them direct eye contact, you're making sure they're safe and healthy, but you're literally picking them up, putting them back in their spot, picking them up, putting them back in their spot, so that they know this is bedtime. You've already read the bedtime story, you already said good night, my love, you already gave them a kiss on the forehead, and now you're just very patiently, calmly, from a very neutral space, picking them up, putting them back on their bed. And with repetition, as we've seen in Super Nanny, it works. So if it works, right? It's tiring and exhausting at first, but it gets easier and easier and easier, and the child gets the idea. They get the picture that, oh, my mom or my papa want me to go to sleep. All right? So, yeah, I was born in England, and sometimes my British comes out. And that's what I call my parents, my mummy and my papa. So, not like that exactly. I am Canadian, got the Canadian accent going on. So, back to that example, it's the same thing you can do with yourself, which I found very helpful, is this chaotic thing is going on, or it's come to my doorstep. What are my choices here? And if you want to, you can choose to patiently and compassionately, neutrally pick your attention up and place it back to where you choose to place it back, over and over and over, until you're like, okay, the chaos is still going on, but I'm not so affected by it. I'm not feeding it. I'm not feeling depleted by it. I'm not engaging with it directly. You do need to address situations, find solutions. I'm all about win-win solutions if that's possible. If not, wish them well, go your separate ways. But most of the time you can work it out. Most of the time, in my experience, there is a mature and rational way to resolve things. And, don't give up. Never give up, never surrender. So, that surrender, it goes both ways. You surrender and have faith and trust in a higher power, if that is what you're called to. And you also never give up and never surrender when it comes to being your authentic self. And only you know, it's between you and that higher power or your higher self or whatever you want to label it. It's between you and your heart, basically, what's going on internally. No one else can really read your mind directly. We're all intuitive, and yes, we are antennas and we'll pick up on things with each other, but really only you know the truth, what's going on within you, inside you. And that brings me to my other point, is that it's all about your come from. Where are you coming from? What is your intention? What is your purpose? And this is again from my very limited experience. This is why I really resonate with children. It's not about ego. It's not about, oh, I've learned this. Oh, I've done this. They're child. They're children. And they're a child. And they're sponges. And that's kind of what I'm like as well. That's my modus operandum is I can't take credit for basically everything I'm sharing in these videos because I've sponged it from all these amazing teachers. So I do teach, but I'm not really teaching. I'm not really helping. You have the power to help yourself. All I'm doing is shining a light and facilitating and saying, hey, did you notice there's a bridge here? That's my job, is to facilitate, help bring awareness. That's it. And that's what all these amazing facilitators, guides, people in my life show up time and time again and have dropped these bombs of wisdom. And I have questioned it, looked into it, experimented with it, tried it, actually try to apply it. And if it works, it works. So that's what I'm sharing here, is that this is another one that comes from other people who have done their work clearly, from my perspective and my observation. And that's something I want to share, is that person always brings this up, that where is your come from is so important. What is my intention? What is my purpose? Where am I coming from? Keep asking myself that in any given situation or scenario, and especially when it comes to, chaotic experiences. So, yeah, I got to give credit where credit is due. And I do give myself credit, though, for consistently being, a C minus to A plus plus student the last, 3-4 years, since 2020. And, my family has given me a great, encouragement and pat on the back for that. And especially coming from the muck, from the mud, from the chaos lifestyle, I guess you could say, which was for a reason, is huge. It's monumental. And I get a gold star for my effort, for sure. And keeping up that consistency. With honesty, it's been in the range since 2020 of C minus to A plus plus. That's the ebb and flow, and it hasn't been easy. So I do get credit for that. Thank you very much. So the next thing is, so for me personally, chaos, I don't want any part of that. Okay, I make it a very conscious choice that, homie, don't play that. I don't want any part of it. You live and let live. Whatever your choices are, I respect it. As long as you're not promoting hate or violence, even with your thoughts and words, everything matters. Even if you're not acting on it, it matters. Of course, don't take yourself so seriously as well. You're going to go this way too extreme and that way too extreme. That's okay. Experiment with your life in the way you want to, but I'm not here to promote hate or violence, and I don't want that in my energy field either. So that is my clear boundary. That's where I draw a line in the sand. Everybody has their limit, and it's important to figure out what that is to you. Where's your line, and how are you enacting those boundaries and doing it in a respectful way, because almost all the time it's never personal. Sometimes it is, but almost all the time it is not. When you start observing that that person is the same way with someone else, and with someone else, and with someone else, you say, oh my goodness, this really has nothing to do with me. So what is my job then? I realized, a really strong realization I had for myself that changed my life completely was, all I literally have to do in this moment is learn to step out of the way. They want to bulldoze and come to me, like a whatever snowball, emotional snowball, or whatever you want to call it. My job is literally to step out of the way, and whatever is their journey, whatever their higher self has planned for them is up to them. And I can lovingly, compassionately meditate on their higher self and things like that, but I don't have to directly engage with it. It is important to see my part in it and be honest with myself and take full responsibility for my part. And by doing that, then I don't keep repeating the same mistakes. So that is very powerful in of itself as well. So yeah, with organized chaos, so I do like organized chaos. I think that is completely different from just chaos. And that is a vital part of the process in my perspective. So, for example, things need to expand and contract. And I'll give you a visual example, like if you see Marie Kondo and her style, like everything is kind of piled up in the beginning of the show, and then in the middle of the show, everything has to come out. I mean, another visual, like I've helped a lot of families during my woofing experience. I'll go into that another time, but WOOF stands for Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms. So I got to have the opportunity to stay with families and help them out while I got to travel on a budget and work with chickens and gardening and farming. Oh my gosh, I can go on and on. The point is, something I love to do is clean the pantry out or help them do a deep clean of the kitchen. It's something I enjoy. It's like meditative for me, and if it's a little bit of help but that feels overwhelming for them, I like to do it. So my process was literally take everything out of the kitchen cupboards. You can imagine what that's going to look like on the kitchen floor, on the kitchen counters, everywhere. So then I did a deep clean of the cupboards themselves, spray, let it sit, gotta let it sit, and wipe and dry and all that good stuff. And then I made my piles, and you got your donate and garbage and keep pile. Or the point is, it looked like chaos, but it was an organized mess. It was an organized chaos. And then you consciously say, okay, this would go better here. Let me make a dollarama list. Maybe this will help organize these things better, and give that to the parents as a suggestion. And however they want to organize it is good. I mean, the whole process took maybe 2-3 days tops. And that's organized chaos. And when you open that cupboard after, you're like, oh, wow. And even I would make like an inventory list. So what's in bin 1, what's in bin 2. You don't have to overthink it. It's just, I'm looking for the beans, and this is a very deep cupboard. Okay, it's in bin 2 on shelf 3. Got it. It saves you time. It saves you energy. It's a reflection of your inner self and your outer self. And it's not everybody's system. It's not everyone's style, but it is my style. And a lot of people have appreciated it. So whatever works for you is what I'm saying with that. And also, organized chaos it can really help things, because you organize anything, just remember it's gonna get messy. And yes, life is messy. That's what the children taught me. Life is messy. Accept it. But does it have to stay messy? That's the question. And also, the other question is, does it have to be miserable too? So, yeah, again, we all go in ebb and flow. The rhythm, law of correspondence, law of rhythm, law of, I forget. But basically, if you go on the internet and look up the Hermetic principles, it's all there. I think I'm remembering that correctly. And if you sit with that or meditate with that, it's pretty cool. Or just observe, how does it play out in nature or with animals or something abstract, and then you see how it plays out within your own life story, your own life journey. It's kind of cool. Yeah, life is messy. Does it have to stay messy? Does it have to be miserable too? I mean, these are questions. Yeah. So the next area I wanted to talk about is perfectionism. That's a big one for me. I mean, it was a big one for me. From my ECE studies, there's 3 columns. You know, this is back then in 2003. I'm sure things have changed by now. It's all good. I learned what I needed to learn from those teachings at the time, and it served me well even to this day, so pretty cool. So those 3 columns are 3 styles of parenting generally. There's laissez-faire, which is like, yeah, hippie man, everything's chill, and you know, and then there's controlling on the other side, which is like, you know, do this when I say to do it, or else. It's just sucking all the joy out of it. And then there's the middle column, which is supportive. So it's all the positives from laissez-faire and from controlling. So the positives of laissez-faire is, you know, Hakuna Matata, just has that kind of authentic, chill, flow vibe, hippie love. And controlling, the positives from that is you're providing them firm boundaries and giving them, you know, reasonable consequences, and, you know, teaching them about safety and building trust and all those tough things that, you know, you need as an adult. So it's very important to have that. Like those farming shows, oh my god, I love those shows where those teenagers who came from undisciplined households, I guess you could say. I mean, the parents are doing the best with what they know. My heart goes out to them. And they reached out for help, and they did it through this show. And that's very powerful and very awesome. And the teenagers would stay with maybe they were preteens, I forget, but they would stay with these farming couple up at the crack of dawn. You know, these are your chores, and you get a healthy breakfast. Like they were being taken care of really well, but they were also being given an appropriate amount of responsibility, and it kind of showed them and helped them tap into, oh, I am capable. You know, this is a saying we have in early childcare is, I'm capable, I'm curious, I am competent. So that is monumental, and I think those kids, you could see by the end of the show that they fully transformed, you know. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating, but there was a major change, and it was awesome to see. I love shows like that. Very heartwarming. But is it perfect? No. Nothing in this world is perfect. So back to perfectionism. I grew up with, generally speaking, a more laissez-faire approach with my parents, and a more controlling approach with extended families. So I got the worst of both worlds, you could say. Again, a lot of love, a lot of loving intentions. That didn't go unnoticed. I've made my gratitude list from everybody. I learned what not to do as well. And there's no, you know, going into a shame, blame, downward spiral. That was part of my process back in the day. So I don't need to go there anymore. It just doesn't, it's not a tool I need anymore. So I'll let that go. um, live and let live, and just send gratitude and draw boundaries where you need to draw them. But that was a tough one for me back then, is perfectionism. And on one side, my personal life, I would let things pile up and not do my chores and everything because I was tired and exhausted and working on healing past trauma, childhood trauma and everything. But then on the other side, you know, I had it ingrained in my head that, oh, there's no point in doing it if you're not going to do it like perfectly. So that's not a nice way of treating yourself. And what I came to realize, the way I was using perfectionism, is it was a form of abuse, self abuse. I wasn't doing it intentionally or consciously. I didn't mean to hurt myself, but that's what I was doing. So a really like powerful, transforming, awesome tool that saved my life is awareness. So it's awareness building. Again, learn from someone else who's done the work, uh, and I can't take credit for this, but all I can say is thank you. And you literally just write it down. So you have two columns, and one is actions that serve my highest self and actions that do not serve my highest self. So let's just say, for example, generally, I write down every single day how many cigarettes I had, how many beers I had, how many, uh, marijuana joints I had, or whatever it is. That actions that are clearly not serving my highest self. Now, if you smoke, if you drink, if you take part in marijuana plant medicine, I'm not judging you. That's not what I'm here to do. To each their own. The point is, within yourself, within your heart, if this thing is controlling you or if you are in the driver's seat. And that's all it comes down to. So I would, if you don't feel like you're in control of something, so I was going to go somewhere, but let's leave that alone. And you want to be in the driver's seat, basically. And actions that serve my highest self, how many glasses of water did I have? How many mugs of herbal tea did I have? I document everything that I can think of for that day. I don't overthink it, but just do my best, and then read it back as well. So something happens. Literally, all you're doing is shining a light on something that was living in the shadows, that was living in the darkness, that you maybe convinced yourself that, hey, I'll look cool when I smoke. It's ingrained in us. It's in all the movies, especially growing up back in the day. And it was everywhere. I mean, back then you could smoke in clubs and everywhere. There's an ashtray everywhere. So we all knew that it was, not the best thing to do, but hey man, it's cool. You look cool. You're a cool person. So there's a lot of sort of programming, deprogramming, delusion, mind control, whatever you want to call it. You convince yourself over the years. It usually starts even when you're younger, and you don't even realize you did it until you're like, hey, why am I coughing so much, or whatever. So until it becomes a problem, then we usually do something about it. So this is awareness building tool technique, and you're bringing it from the darkness to the light. That's literally it. And the more you keep shining that light on your choices, on your actions, something happens. And it's like your own innate awareness, intelligence, higher intelligence, clicks on and steps in and says, hey, why am I really doing this? Let's get to the root of it. And you just, something happens, and you get to be a powerful choice maker. I don't know how to explain it. It's all from direct knowing and direct experience, and I really encourage this one. Me and my sister really got into this tool and we had fun with it. It's not about taking yourself seriously. It's about being a scientist, observing. And then we would have our dance chant, and because we really love this tool, and we'd be like, awareness is the key. Awareness is the key. Awareness is the key. Awareness is the key. So it really is like a key, and it freaking unlocks something. And don't take my word for it. I mean, if you want to try it, try it. If you don't, you don't. That's all right too. But yeah, anyone who's been struggling with perfectionism or anything like that, or addictions or things that feel out of your control, and this is a very good tool. So, interesting with the Rumble and YouTube. I mean, the comments, like, I don't understand the settings. I'm pretty good at troubleshooting things and finding out, going to Reddit or wherever and being like, okay, what does this mean? And figuring it out. And I don't know. Sometimes I see the comments, sometimes I don't. Even on Reddit, they're like, it's confusing. You can't get a straight answer. For whatever reason, I'm not really seeing comments. So I do appreciate comments of encouragement and gratitude. Let me just say that. And I'm not really into this. I'm not a techie person, really. I love it as a tool. You pick it up, put it down, use it. It's very useful. But I know I've been to a lot of workshops with the screen time and the effects of screen time and addiction, and a lot of these apps are designed for that, as we know. So I'm very aware and conscious that I'm in control here. I'm not doom scrolling. All right, that's not me. That's not what I choose. That's not what I want. If that's what you're doing, that's okay. Go easy on yourself. It's all part of the process. Maybe it's helping you in some way. It's not a big deal. But the point is, with this cancel culture, whatever you want to call it, I'm not used to it. I don't like it. I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. I like that, you go and tell a friend that, oh, this restaurant was, cool or whatever, or this restaurant, I didn't like it. But then still, we would go to that restaurant, no matter what other people said, and make up our mind for ourselves, or go to that doctor and make up our mind for ourselves. I mean, when did we start as a culture reviewing people as if they were products? I ain't down with that. I don't do that. I've had a few experiences here and there where people are in a professional setting and there was a real issue. So I went in person, to management, or I sent an email to management saying, I'm not here to get this person fired. This is my feedback. This was my experience. Maybe they were having a bad day. Maybe they're stressed out. All these different things. So I'm going to talk person to person. That's just how I am. And do it constructively as I can, lovingly as I can, and compassionately as I can, because I'm not a vacuum. All right? So to take what little part you see from me, from these videos, I don't know, whatever. Do what you got to do. I'm all about free speech. But, what they do with the comedians and stuff, that's their job. Anyway, let's not go there. The point is, for comments, I really do appreciate your encouragement and gratitude and constructive feedback, honest, authenticity, things like that. And I don't know if I'm going to see the comments or not. I'm going to fiddle around with the settings. I'm going to do my best and things like that. I want to know what you guys are thinking. But if you really want to work with me and seriously want to work with me in terms of parenting and parenting help, please do go to my website, growyourgifts.ca, and email me exactly what you would like to know or inquire about. And let's say you're just watching my videos and you just want more information on something. Again, please go to my website and email me your questions there, because that would be really helpful for me, and that way I will definitely see what your comments are, what your questions are, and it'll help me too because I can give you more focused information about what you're looking for, if that's something that interests you. That's enough about the comments. I could go on, but I won't. It is what it is. This is the world we live in, and I accept that. So, yeah, it's something about like perfectionism and another like extreme is like chaos. Like that was my, you could say, old life. Since 2020, I've been living my new life. And I'm literally not the same person I used to be. So many people in my life can attest to that. I'm always going to have that same personality generally that I had when I was a baby. And, everybody knows what I was like then, super psychic and going to the garden all the time and on and on. So, yeah, I'm the same, but I'm not the same. So back then I would love to experiment a lot and experiment by going to extremes. And I was guided and taught how maddening that was for other people and for myself. So the example I'll give you, and you'll see what I mean when I give the example, is basically what I was doing, just as a visual, is I was using a shovel as a spoon and using a spoon as a shovel. So not using the thing for what it was designed to be used for. And I feel like this example actually has helped a lot of school-age children and teenager children I work with. It's like, it's great to experiment, but why are you going that extreme? Have you tried to use a spoon to do the work of shoveling in the garden or in the fields? It's not easy and it doesn't work. And have you tried to eat your food with a shovel? Giant shovel that you use in the garden? Have you tried to eat your food? Like, it's just, you need two hands. It's like, what are you doing? So it's an extreme example, but I was extreme back then for whatever reason. So yeah, sorry, I'm just thinking. Spoon for shovel, shovel for spoon. I had something, it went away. That's okay. Working with kids. Maybe it'll come back to me. Who knows? There's a creek behind me. Maybe you can hear it. I'm not sure. It's very nice. So using things for their intended use. I got it, and it's a good one. But it is important to play and experiment and get into that flow state, especially when you're working with children or as a parent and you're doing that floor time or just play time. I would do this with my friends all the time just for fun. We would take something and be like, you pick it up and you look at it and you look at it from different angles and different perspectives and you think, how can I use this differently? How can I view this differently? An example is, I was reading an article about Alanis, the singer, Alanis Morissette, and she said something like, when she has writer's block as a songwriter, she would physically change her perspective. So, for example, she would lie down on the floor under a table, or she would, get a helicopter ride and go to a deserted cave where nobody's there, and things like that. Like, if you physically change your perspective, it kind of helps unblock those things. I thought that was so cool. And what we would do, in childcare, a really good one, like, just take something like a cushion and try to balance it on your head with a toddler. You see their whole being like lights up. They're like, what? That's not how we use a cushion. What is she doing right now? That is so cool. And the same thing like with a tissue box. I just try to balance it on my head. Like, this is hours of fun I'm talking about. And you just do it with different things. Like, you're playing with it. So you're not going to the extreme of spoon and shovel, but you're taking something and you're saying, oh, how can I maybe use this differently? And it does something too for you as an adult within. So as within, so without, and so on. So yeah, I guess this is a long one. We'll just kind of wrap it up to, just summarize my philosophy in one song. That one song is La 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 La. Okay, I'm way off key, but it's by Green Velvet, the 7-minute one. And oh my gosh, I mean, most of Green Velvet songs, the DJ, the tracks have helped me so much. A shout out to Green Velvet, awesome, and just so creative, so just resonates with me. But that one in particular, La 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 La, yeah, that's the title of the song, and it's a 7-minute track. It's just my philosophy in a nutshell. I'm very simple, I'm very basic, all about clearing things out and keeping it very chill. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. We'll end it there. Signing off, and I wish you well.